Welcome to the latest episode of the Create Smarter podcast. I'm your host, Connor Clougherty. Today I'm joined by my co-host, Phil, and special guest, David, as we dive in the exciting world of AI and video production. We'll be discussing the latest advancements and how they're impacting the industry, as well as sharing our own experiences and insights. So whether you're a professional video producer, a hobbyist, or just interested in the future of technology, this episode is for you. So sit back, relax, and join us as we explore the cutting edge of AI and video production. Let's get started. Now, it's funny, we don't usually open with a script, right? We just kind of go off the top of our heads. But today I thought it would be fun to ask ChatGPT to write me a podcast intro.
Wow. That was a ChatGPT
That was
intro.
created not by a human, but by AI. I don't know why it assigned you as the co-host, but go for it.
So that's interesting. So you took it exactly as it gave it to you.
Yes.
That was good.
Well, I edited everybody and their mothers has heard about AI now and ChatGPT and all this stuff, and we'll dive deep into it in a minute. But today, I just wanted to play around with it, so I went to ChatGPT. I'd never used it before, actually. You guys, I know, have used it a couple of times. So I was like, "Hello, ChatGPT," which is weird because why are you saying hi to a robot? And I was like, "Can you write me a podcast intro?" And that's all I said. So it gave me a pretty good whatever, but it picked a random topic and it gave it a random show name. And I was like, can you edit that intro, make it the Create Smarter podcast, and with guests, Phil and David? And that's what it pumped out.
It's awesome.
Wow. So I was like, that's pretty interesting.
It sounded pretty natural, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And you know,
it sounded like something that you wrote up yourself. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I was going to say for people like me who aren't exactly eloquent in that type of, if this was for you, if you were a hobby, it's kind of cool how it adds little details and stuff. And that's just a little insight to what we're going to talk about today, about AI in the video production field specifically. Like I said, I think AI has been booming in all these kind of headlines and all these newsletters, whether it's tech-related or not, and everyone knows about it. But I was thinking, how can we look at it in our scope, in our industry, and how it can help us or maybe even hurt us in video production?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get right into it. Obviously, like I said, AI has been everywhere. We've heard it all through, it's been in the art realm. It's been in people are scared it's going to write essays for students, So every industry, I think, has been touched by it a little, or everyone's creating scenarios or will be touched. But in video production, I think there's a very interesting use for it. And to start off, let's talk about ChatGPT a little. Phil, I think you kind of, in our meetings and stuff, has brought up the most just with blog posts and other things like that. Why don't you give us a little, just kind of a general idea what ChatGPT is and how someone like us in the video production realm could use it?
Yeah, so ChatGPT is an AI chatbot, basically, and you can give it prompts, and it's mainly designed to be like a writing tool. So it has a knowledge base. Now, in its current iteration, it has a knowledge data cutoff, so it's not actually real time. So I believe it's September 2021 is the knowledge cutoff. Yeah. So it has access to basically everything on the internet up until September 2021, but it's not currently real time. Now, you would imagine that in time, future iterations of it would be real-time access to real-time information.
Definitely.
But basically, you can put in any prompt. You mentioned the podcast intro. You can put in whatever you want into ChatGPT. Say, write me this, write me that. You mentioned the example of an essay for a college student. I've spent way more time messing around with ChatGPT than I care to admit.
It's research. It's called research.
Yes.
For this podcast.
Some of the things I've had it do. I had it write me a draft script of an episode of Parks and Recreation.
There you go.
It did it for me. No joke, with character names and everything. I had it write me a blog post for the site. I had it write me a sample product page for the website. Emails, I mocked up,
Wow.
We work with a lot of fundraising clients. I had it write a sample fundraising email, and same thing, you narrow it down. Can you be more specific about impact areas, all of these things? So it, the fact that you can go back and narrow it down and give it more parameters, that's what really, I think, makes it really interesting. In the scope of video production, I think there's a lot of interesting use cases in terms of what are some potential use cases for, come up with an idea, an idea for a video on X, Y, or Z topic, right? Help me write a script. There's a ton of jumping off points. I think the main thing to start this conversation with, to me, you said people are scared of it. And I understand that, but I also think back to my time when I was in high school, and Wikipedia was in its early stages and becoming a thing, and all the teachers and parents were like, oh, Wikipedia kids are going to forget how to use the library. They're not going to know how to use real books, and it's bad information. Anyone can upload anything on the internet. And everybody looked at it as oh, this is trash. And now it's that's one of the most trusted sources of information anywhere.
Honestly.
So I look at AI as this thing where it's like it's very new and maybe scary to people now, but I feel like five years from now, it's just going to be similar to Wikipedia or a lot of other tools. It's going to be a tool, right? There'll be ways to prevent people from using it as a way to just like do their work for them, but also it's like, well, why should we do work that doesn't have to be done, right? To a
or
degree,
at least streamline the work that you do have to do. Like I like the example you were saying about the emails. Let's say about a fundraising thing to 5, 7, 10 different schools. You could say, write me a skeleton script, right? But I'll take that and I'll edit it for my own purposes. Right. I think people think that you're going to go on there and just do like, write me this, that, and the other thing, and just copy paste that and send it. But I think that people don't understand there's a lot of stuff that goes on after. It's a good idea for a starting point. I think that's what we're agreeable on. But to use the actual stuff is kind of silly. So I'll turn it to you, David. What do you think about ChatGPT as a whole and kind of what it shows for our industry?
Well, I think it's fascinating just being able to use it a couple times. Some of the things that I like about it is how it's very conversational. It doesn't feel like you're, looking up stuff on Google and getting links and different kind of things. You're getting a conversational answer and really thoughtful answers to your questions or what you're looking for on it. Some of the things that I find fascinating about it is that you can literally do text generation. You can translate languages. You can do text summaries and some tone analysis, which to me, I want to talk about that real quick.
Sure.
I saw something. It was like, and obviously like when you're texting someone, you can kind of, people can be misunderstood on both ends when, things are being said and whatnot, but ChatGPT can actually look into the tone and the way a text is being sent and actually tell you, this is what I think was being portrayed in a text. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's super neat.
Yeah. So
is this person mad at me?
Yeah.
Is this a passive aggressive email or not? I don't know.
ChatGPT, tell me.
Marissa, what do you mean?
Is this client upset with me right now?
Which I thought was just really, really cool.
Wow.
That, something that in our generation we're experiencing, which is, like you said, very new, is able to do that kind of stuff and give you those kind of answers and stuff that Google can't do or other search engines can't do. Right. But definitely very, very cool stuff. There was another example I wanted to bring up of somebody who was on a date, and they actually, the person they were on a date with was very much into Harry Potter. And so the other person didn't know anything about Harry Potter, had never seen Harry Potter, so goes to the bathroom, asks for a summary of like all the Harry Potter movies, 2 minutes in and out, goes back, tells her everything he knows, and the date went well. So I thought that was honestly a pretty cool way.
A little advice.
Cliff's Notes.
Yeah.
And you could give it word parameters, like tell me the summary of all 7 Harry Potter books in 200 words.
One bathroom.
It's going to be bare bones, but you're going to know there's wizards. I mean, like, you're going to know there's wizards involved.
What's funny, that actually is a good point. And to bring it back to video production a little, we do a lot of remote calls with like experts from Tufts and other universities around the country. And sometimes I'll be assigned to a recording with this doctor who did a great project, and I'll be like, I don't know anything about stem cell research. What the heck? Yeah. So I'll do a 5 minutes real quick, or I prepare. But before the interview itself, that'd be a perfect tool to be like, okay, ChatGPT or whatever, give me a 200-word summary on making ticks do the thing that the guy did, right? Like some crazy thing
100%.
that we can't even think of. Make a meet in a lab type deal, so that you can actually sound like competent when you're talking to this expert.
Right, and go in. That's the main thing. The way you guys are talking about it, I think, as it applies to video production, is like the main point here. It's a research tool.
Correct.
Ultimately, the way that you have to look at this, I think, is as a research tool. If you believe that AI can do your creative job better than you, I think it might be time to look for a different line of work.
A little different
because
job.
Like ultimately, and like, listen, I'm talking specifically about video production and things like that. Some of the stuff with the art generation, that's a whole nother ball of yarn as far as I'm concerned. I'm talking more about like person-to-person interactions, communication, emails, the written word, all of that stuff. I'm not like, obviously the AI can do a great job, but it's like ultimately you need to take this and look at it for what it is and realize that it's a tool that's out there. So first of all, I think that you should believe that you have skills as a human being to process information and convey that information in ways that AI and a computer can't.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe that, again, that's a different conversation.
I'm sorry.
And second of all, the simple reality is that this is a tool that exists, and if you don't view it as a tool that's complementary to what you do, you're going to be in big trouble because it's not going away, and your competitors are going to use it as a tool, and other people are going to use it. So you can't just ignore it. You can't put your head in the sand and ignore it. You have to look for opportunities to say, how can this make me a better interviewer? How can this make me a better writer? How can this help me explain my product to potential clients better, as opposed to running away from it and hiding, because it's not going anywhere.
Right. Very well put. I love that. And just switching gears a little, I think we should talk about, I think a lot of people look at AI as this brand new thing that came out end of 2021, 2022 that like no one's ever thought of and all this stuff. But I don't think a lot of people notice that it's already been around for a while in a lot of different products. But in my research for this, actually, looking at Premiere Pro or any, Adobe software type thing or any video editor, really, there's already been AI implemented that we have just kind of like, okay, like, yeah, that's a new feature, like in a couple updates. I have a couple examples here, thinking of my favorite tool, Warp Stabilizer, that kind of deal, or anything in After Effects where you motion track something. There's a little AI in that, right? Because you trust the computer. I'll give you this little key point or this, this shaky footage, and just give it to the computer and see how it goes. And we never really asked questions about that, and I thought that was really interesting.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but in that example, that didn't eliminate, visual effects.
No,
people. Right?
I still have a job, and I still use that footage later.
And people who work on, feature films doing visual effects obviously can do a much better job than the AI, and that's a specialized skill. But if somebody doesn't have the budget to hire, a motion picture visual effects editor, but you have shaky footage, there's still a way to like get part of the way there, right? Definitely. So obviously, it's also like, not everything is for every single person, right?
Yeah.
So
just a lot of case by case.
There's still people involved at points of that process, right? So I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, good. But talk about a movie studio with a bunch of different departments and 1,000 employees. Think of a small company like us. If we don't have the time to sit there and like frame by frame motion stabilize stuff, I'd rather, to get to my work done or get better quality work, okay, I'm going to send that to put Warp Stabilizer on it, and it's good to go.
Right, and focus on the stuff that you can bring to the table that the AI can't. Yeah.
So use it as an ally. Don't look at it as a competitor. I mean,
robots
it's just
are
like,
our
how
friends.
can you help me, my man? Like, just like your Keurig makes your coffee, that thing's going to make my footage look good. Put that on a T-shirt. But a second thing I was thinking of with all these podcasts we were releasing, editing, is just transcribing from video and audio into captions or a transcription in general. It's like, someone would sit there and listen to the word, I got to play that back. Hold on, what do you say? What do you mean by this? But you could just, press play on the audio, gives you a transcription, make that into a caption, send it off. That's incredible.
Yeah, I think that's one of the very useful tactics that Premiere Pro has and other software has, is being able to transcribe and do that kind of thing. And it's effective, and it speeds up your process, so you don't have to do it yourself. And like you said, using it as an ally and not an enemy, I think, is the key here.
Correct. And my last point here, and to go into our next point, let's talk about noise reduction or audio enhancement as a whole. I think there's a lot of times you go and shoot, whether it's outside, indoors, there might be a vent or something that's making some noise. And I think everyone can relate. You've brought the footage back in, you're like, shoot, there's a little buzz in the background, a little annoying. So you open up some kind of tab, you go some kind of EQ, some kind of noise stabilizer, and you just press that, and it just, it's gone. Look at that, and you can slide that slider and all that stuff, which is super helpful, like we were saying. Use it as an ally, use it as a tool. But recently, we've kind of come across this new tool by Adobe itself, because Adobe has kind of caught on to this giant podcast thing. I mean, 5tool's doing it. Let's get Adobe on this stuff.
That's why
they want it to be kind of a one-stop shop where people like us can use their products and their software to make a studio quality sounding podcast if you don't have the correct equipment. So if you go to adobepodcast.com or whatever the heck it is, look it up. They'll have a couple tools for you where you can go right into that software itself, record your podcast with other people, and it has amazing tools. Like, it'll make your mic sound studio quality. You can edit by the transcript instead of bringing it in, chopping it up, and get all the ums and ahs out, as well as some others. And I think, Phil, you can talk to just how amazed we were by the audio enhancement tool itself.
Absolutely unreal. I mean, there's very few times I feel like one of these tools rolls out and it's like as advertised.
Yeah, right.
And you brought me in to look at an example that you had done. And your original audio, granted, was pretty good.
It was fine, yeah.
They were on a mic, right? It wasn't just like somebody talking to a phone. So they were on a mic, but then, you played me the original. I was like, that sounds okay.
They're in a crowded hallway. There's going to be noise.
There's background noise. But then you put it through the tool, and I'm like, it literally sounds like the person is sitting in a soundproofed studio on their own microphone.
Yeah.
And it was, our reaction when we listened to it was, it is actually too good.
Right.
Because it sounds fake.
Yeah, now that you see the video with it.
Yeah, it doesn't fit. We're gonna have to add in some ambient
We're gonna have
noise.
to actually make it worse now.
Because it sounds like we dubbed in a voiceover because
Yeah.
the quality was so good.
Unbelievably.
But like, whatever, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, you're right.
We'll muck it up a little if
Yeah.
we need to. Like, give me the best possible quality to start
my
from.
God.
Right.
And a lot of times, it's interesting. Clients who don't have as much experience in the field will say like, "Oh, just work your magic."
Yeah.
And sometimes it's kind of a joke, and sometimes it's more like, "Well, just click a button and you can fix it." And in most cases, you're like, "Well, that's not realistic."
Would
But the
have to
more
be
these
5
tools come out,
minutes.
and you're like, "Yeah, great. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just click a button and fix it." But again, it's a tool, right? Like that lets you spend less time trying to go in and beat your head against the wall fixing bad audio, and more time worried about getting the client's message across.
Definitely.
Worried about storytelling, worried about how you're going to connect with their audience, and less time worried about the tactical junk that's just going to chew up your whole day and take the focus away from the important stuff. So it's, again, a tool.
100%.
I totally agree, and I think just the ability to take a clip with some noise in the background, whatever, maybe some background noise, I think, and to make it just a perfectly, studio sounding clip is night and day. The difference is just night and day. It's amazing, and I think it's just a small piece of this AI puzzle that's
Right.
going to just keep growing.
Yeah, totally. And as you mentioned a little bit, this particular example we used was from like a conference where there's people walking, but we had sent a video off an iPhone, like a cameo that
Yeah.
somebody sent in. And this is an iPhone, someone in their living room with the game on in the background.
No microphone.
No microphone, just like set up get some couple books or whatever. And same result. We were blown,
Unreal.
like jaw-droppingly good.
Unreal.
And like you're saying, the possibilities of this are just endless, and
Yeah.
and it'll only get better, is what we're kind of hoping.
And to your point, you mentioned like taking out the ums and ahs of a soundbite. That's like one of the main things that comes to my head when I think of this tool and just what it can be. I mean, I can't imagine, how many times you're having to take out an or a long pause in a soundbite. But if for it to be able to do that itself and save you that time is just remarkable.
I think the main thing is just looking at this from the standpoint of what you're saying is like, don't look at it and say, oh, there's going to be AI tools that will eliminate my job as a video editor. Say, there's these tools that are going to make me a better editor, right? Like, if it can chew up a bunch of the busy work that comes along with the job of editor, what does the job of editor become?
Yeah.
Right? Or what does the job of a writer become, or the salesperson? And we have a client who we work with a lot here. One of our clients from BU who I was talking to about AI yesterday. I talk about this a lot, even in my spare time. And he had a great analogy. I want to steal it.
Yeah.
He said, ChatGPT and some of these AI tools, it's like a very eager graduate assistant who sometimes makes mistakes, right? You can depend on them to get a lot of the work done for you. They can get some of the research going and get things started. But like ultimately, you still have to be there and be the expert and get the work done.
Smooth
but
the
like,
edges,
But like grad assistants are great if you're like a,
the work, brother. Take the ums and ahs out. Go for it.
Right,
Then
right.
give it to me, and I'll do a little bit.
right. And then
That's perfect.
I would think that a client who is working with us as a production company would be very happy to know that we are doing everything we can to make the process more efficient, that the money they're spending with us is spent on things that are hard skills, that are stuff that is really valuable as opposed to busy work, right?
Yes.
They don't want to pay us for busy work. So as much as possible, we can eliminate that stuff and have them work with us and use our skills for the things that they can't do and that we can. So like, again, it's not going anywhere no matter what. So you got to look for the ways to make it a tool, not an enemy.
Can't beat them,
totally.
join them.
Plus,
Exactly.
we also a Terminator. You don't want to be on the robot's
Hey,
bad side.
listen. I mean, it might be able to make a couple funny pictures now, but who knows later in life? I don't know.
And no, and like you said, Phil, earlier with just Wikipedia and what that was so many years ago, or not so many years ago, but a little bit of time ago, just like that, with AI, as humans we'll adapt and we'll get more used to it and things will become more comfortable and we'll learn the benefits and the advantages and disadvantages as time moves on.
Yeah, and like the big thing you said, like, oh, kids are going to just have this write their essays and things like that. I don't know what the answer specifically is from like an academic setting, but it's also like, I don't know, then let's find a way to make sure that we teach, we're asking kids to do things in a way that's actually teaching them things, right? Like, let's use that, let's lean into it and use ChatGPT and AI as a starting point and say like, I want you to research your paper using this, and we're going to write a paper in a room together. Like,
Right, yeah.
Right.
I don't know. All I'm saying, I don't have the answer from like an academic standpoint, and I recognize that that's a concern, and I don't know how you can how you can prevent that.
Yeah.
Because it's not the same as plagiarism. There's tools that can allow professors to run, an essay through a database and say, like, does this match something that's already been published?
Right.
Okay, but let's say a student, got another student who, is a couple years ahead of them, or a big brother or a big sister, to write a paper for them. That wouldn't show up in any plagiarism databases.
Right.
And
It's all original.
And
that's what ChatGPT says it is.
And so, like, I don't know, like, it's not like the idea that you can steal content and not do the work didn't exist before this, right?
Yeah.
I could have plagiarized essays in high school and college, and I didn't because I don't know, I didn't want to cheat. Like,
it's okay, Phil. Your teacher's not watching.
No, I mean, I didn't, because I didn't want to cheat. Like,
no, but right, you wanted to learn, actually.
Right.
And I think some people will eventually find how to use this, like we've discussed, as a learning tool.
And imagine if you had this tool when you were trying to learn something that was really challenging for you, or write a paper that you didn't fully grasp the concept of, and you could use this as a starting point to help summarize some of the difficult concepts, so that then you could actually synthesize the information and understand it better, right? Like, there's a lot of really legitimate ways that this can be a learning aid for people, like we're going beyond video production here, but if it's applied the right way, there's a lot of ways this can help kids, especially kids who are struggling to like synthesize really dense information. So like, again, a tool, something that can be real to say like, oh, it's really powerful. No kidding.
It literally is.
Like, let's just say like, oh, it's scary. Yeah, sure. Everything's scary if you don't understand it. Like, let's try to understand it.
Yeah, let's learn it and use it in our own benefit.
Right.
And that's a good kind of segue as to kind of wrapping it up here. Just in broad terms, I think we've even today have discussed fears, concerns, but also things you're excited about that could actually be beneficial tool sets. I just have a little example just for us, right? I'll read. I'm an article guy now, as you all know, and I love reading articles about stuff, and AI is one cool. So I found this company or a product called QuickVid, and it claims to use AI to generate short-form videos complete with a voiceover and accompanying images. And if you look at something like TikTok, something like Reels, these short-form videos where you just mindlessly scrolling and you don't really care about the quality of the video, I think, more or less whatever. So they have a couple examples, and this product you can use. Basically, you put in, you're going to make a video for TikTok, Snapchat, and what do you want it to be about? Machine learning. Generate script. It'll pump out an entire script for you that either you could use later or just let it use. And this example is about cats. So you guys should be able to hear this when I play it. Hold on. This is a video generated by an AI off the prompt cats.
Cats have been beloved pets for centuries. They have big personalities and can be fiercely independent. Cats come in many shapes and sizes, with a variety of coat colors and patterns. They can also be short-haired or long-haired. Cats are typically quite low maintenance, but they still need regular vet checkups, flea treatments, and a healthy diet. They also need plenty of love and attention. Playtime, cuddles, and treats can help to keep them happy and healthy. Cats can bring a lot of joy to your life, so make sure you do your research and choose the right furry friend for you.
So first thing that comes to mind is that the captions on the screen, half of them are wrong.
Or incorrect, yeah.
Now, everything in that video is factually correct, but I would say that I've seen many more videos created on on small and large budgets that made me feel a lot more things about cats than this video did.
Yeah.
So, like, sure, it's factually correct, but there's no, heart behind it.
No,
it's
made by a robot, and you can definitely tell because yes, it uses stock images of cats, and that's what it's about. And on this, I'll link it in the blog post. But there's a video about machine learning, which is interesting, and then also one about I believe cultural race theory in schools. So high concepts like that. But really, as we saw there, it's like it's not going to be perfect because it's made by a robot. It's going to be very surface level information of whatever you are researching or want to make a video about. And to me, it's quick and dirty. Like the captions are wrong. Some of the photos it throws up doesn't have anything to do with cats at all.
Yeah,
it's kind of like but somebody might be like, all right, I got to make 10 of these in one day, something like that. And so what are your thoughts on that kind of? Because that's an actual example of like video production. Of fear of it stealing our jobs. Probably not.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, the ability to like kind of create and generate B-roll and to see images on the screen that are just, tell AI what you want to see and it's going to get it for you. I think that's very cool. Like you said, I mean, I think any human could make a better video than that. Yeah. That was kind of, you could very much so tell it was a robot and not necessarily a bad thing. Like you said, if somebody has to bang out like 10 or 20 of those, yeah, that's perfect. But I think, you know, it's still a little more, it's got a little more ways to go before it's at a point where that's going to replace, you know, a human making a video just like that.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to like smartphones, right? Smartphones have a lot of capabilities. They can shoot really high quality video. They can take great photos, but like it doesn't. I think like when a smartphone video started to become a thing, there was probably some things that said like, oh, smartphone video is going to kill video production.
Right.
Well, no, it means that the really easy stuff that like a client can do for themselves with their phone, they'll do themselves, and then they'll use video production companies and professionals when they need to, right? Like if you have no ability to shoot or edit anything and you need to convey information about cats, again, it was factually accurate and video about cats. However, if you need to tell a story about a specific cat that got rescued from a shelter to raise money for an animal shelter or a hospital or something,
right,
you need to do that a little bit differently.
A lot more details, a lot more emotions.
Maybe you use these tools to do some of the stuff that, you know, you can't hire someone for everything, but similar to a phone, it's like, yeah, use your phone to do some of the day-to-day stuff. And then call in the professionals when you need something professionally done. So it's like, again, like, sure, cut out some of that low-end stuff and let people do more stuff themselves and then focus on the bigger, more creative stuff. Another one more thing to that point, I think about myself in the position of someone who started a business. And I didn't know when we started this what that meant in terms of all the things that come along with it, like first of all, like researching things like taxes or understanding how to start an LLC or the things that go along with that, but also just at a more basic point, like how do you write a sales email? How do you in an email form ask someone for money in a personal way in exchange for your services? I knew how to shoot video, I knew how to edit video. I didn't know how to do that. This tool would have been awesome. I would have said, hey, can you help me figure out how to write a cold sales email?
Yo, real quick.
And I would have changed it and edited it and made it my own. And if I didn't make it my own, when I sent it to people, they would have looked at it and said, well, this sounds like a robot. This sucks. Yep. It doesn't sound like Phil, so I'm not going to buy from them. But like it could have been a helpful starting point for an entrepreneur or someone trying to figure out how to do something that is new ground for them.
Definitely.
So again, a tool. It's awesome. It's great.
And I think it's funny when watching that video about the cat, I almost think like, if you're somebody who's a visual learner, that would have been good to learn about cats. Like if there was a topic you wanted to learn about, you know, generate a video like that about any given topic, and that's great. It's got, you know, the images, the B-roll, the on-screen text, and the voiceover. But it's almost like, you know, to create a visual that you want to share and tell the world about, I don't know if it's necessarily in that form, you know, what you're looking for. But certainly to learn, and like you said, a tool, great tool.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not even talking about like people who suffer from dyslexia, right? Like a AI generated video to learn instead of like, here's a book for a kid about cats. Great. Generate a video for me about cats.
Yeah, listen to this 30-second to a minute, and then, you know, you'll have something that you could have read, but condensed. Yeah.
I think there's always going to be something new where it's going to be, oh, it's going to take your job and it's going to end the world and all of that stuff. And granted, I'm not trying to minimize that. Like you talked about, like transcription. I'm sure there are fewer like physical human transcriptionists now than there were, 20 years ago. But there are still human transcriptionists. There are still jobs that require that level of detail. Court reporters and
stenographers.
There's times when we submit video and we will only submit it to human transcriptionists because it needs to be right. And we don't want to deal with there being mistakes and things like that. But like, I don't know. We again, it's like if as a society, like let's continue to adjust and figure out how to use these things as tools.
I agree. Anything else?
No, this was cool. Talk about this all day.
Yeah, and we definitely could.
And I'm super interested. Like, let's like put this in a bottle and revisit it 5 years from now and see how wrong we were and how much it advanced and how great.
When we're the slaves to the robots. Oh no, God.
How great the AI videos are. We're like, oh damn, that video about cats is real good.
Those cats are sick.
They sent a drone out to film that fresh video of a cat in California.
Oh, no.
Like that AI. No, that's not just AI. That's original footage.
Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna hire them. Why not?
And just to make one more final point too, like that video might not have been, the greatest video ever made, but I think like even we talked briefly about the generated art that it's made. I mean, that is just amazing.
Yeah. We could do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah. So, imagine at this point, if we already have AI generated art like that, imagine, a couple years from now, what kind of videos.
I have that written. It says, if they can do it with art, what about videos?
Yeah, and listen, I'm sure.
You hit it right on the head.
Right. I'm sure that'll be the case and it'll continue to advance. But again, it's like personal relationships and humans and brains and, continue to figure out how to work alongside this stuff. And that's the way.
And that's why you hire someone you can trust, someone you can talk to, someone you can relate to, like 5 Tool Productions.
Perfect. I agree with you.
Boys, thank you so much for sitting down and talking to me today. This has been really enlightening, really fun to talk about. And like you said, it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes. So I'm Connor, Phil, David from 5 Tool Productions. Visit 5toolproductions.com for more information and get in contact with us. Hit us up. We'll talk to you all day about AI in video production. Thanks for watching another episode of the Create Smarter podcast.